Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Captain Clyde's MTG. One day away from moving into the new house. God, it's going to be a nightmare. Hope it goes smoothly. Anyway, with all that said, let's look at some more spoilers from Karlov Manor. Hopefully there's nobody getting murdered. Get it? Manor, murder, clue. Anyway, moving on. So don't forget, comment, like, subscribe, all the good stuff's in the links in the description. eBay, TCG player, yada, yada, yada. Patreon's in there. We got memberships now on the channel if you want to get it hooked up to support a player. But the best thing you can do is just subscribe and watch the videos. I would greatly appreciate it. We're also on Rumble, so check us out. But with all that said, let's get into it. Our first card for today is Bolrac Clan Basher. 2 red and 4 for a 3/2 with double strike and trample. It has disguise 5. This seems fine for limited. At 6 mana, a 3/2 double strike with trample is perfectly fine. Being able to do it on 5, definitely a lot better. But probably only going to see limited play. Just not that hot. We have Ansrag the Quake Mole. Green, red, and 2 for an 8/4. Hello. It's a god. Mole god. Anyway, whenever it becomes block, untap each creature you control. After this combat phase, there is an additional combat phase. So if you swing with this, they don't want to block it. And for 2 green and 2 red and 3 colorless, it must be blocked each combat this turn if able. So I guess this thing keeps getting blocked till it dies, or you stop blocking it, or you run out of creatures. So I guess you put indestructible on this, it's going to be a thing. A real thing. Well, I'm sure this is probably going to be expensive because somebody's going to figure out something weird to do with it, but moving on. Next we have Lazav, Weaver of Fates. Blue-black for a 2/3. He's got a little beefier. Whenever the Weaver of Fates attacks, exile a card from a graveyard, then investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you may have Lazav become a copy of creature card exiled with it until end of turn. So this is another version of him that is going to be really good for graveyard manipulation, and so forth and so on. I think it's going to be really popular in Commander. It's going to be really good for limited 2 mana for a 2/3 that can become something god-awful. Might have a little bit of a standard future. Never know. So moving on, they went this way. Anyway, green and 2, basic, search your library for a basic land card, put on battlefield tap, and then you get to investigate. So, fine for limited. It's the only place it's going to be played, though. Everybody needs mana fixing. So next we have the Corner Trickster, red and 4 for Viashino Warrior. It's a 5/4, so it's right on rates, but not too bad. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, it deals 3 damage to any target. I mean, it's fine for limited, I guess. Daredevil Detective, a red and 1. Whenever Daredevil Detective attacks, you may sacrifice an artifact or discard a card. If you do, draw a card, and the detective gets +2/+0 till end of turn. It's an 0/3. This, I think, has promise. We got lots of clues going around that can trigger this. So you could draw cards while making this a 2/3, plus other things that you could sacrifice or what have you. Because it also says discard a card. You can just filter with it. So like, it's literally it's a Merfolk looter with some nads. We'll just say, instead of a 1/1 that's scared to death, you gotta pay mana, or any of those silly things. You just get in there and wrestle. Or wrestle, I guess. So I think this is going to be great in limited Commander. It's going to be a good standard card. I don't know if you'll see play in the older formats because it's 2 mana, but it's a possibility. This the ability for it to filter. It's pretty good. Next we have the Tunnel Tipster. Trip. Anyway. Green and 1 for a 1/1. At the beginning of your end step, if a face down creature enters the battlefield under your control this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy. Plus, he's a mana dork. I mean, fine for limited. Maybe good for a commander deck. If you're doing the whole face down creature things, it is a mana dork. So we have Slime Against Humanity. That's funny. Funny. Get it. Anyway, green and 2 sorcery. Create a 0/0 slime creature token with trample. You get to put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is 2 plus the total number of cards in number of cards you own in exile and in your graveyard that are oozes or are named Slimed Against Humanity. The deck can have any numbers of Slime Against Humanity cards. This is hilarious. Very funny. I mean, okay for limited if you get 2 or 3 of them. Not even gonna lie. That's probably as far as it's gonna go. There might be a standard deck here, but it's gonna be real campy. And God, I hope there is, because I want to see a Slime Against Humanity deck. Anyway, moving on. Next we have Barbed Servitor. Boy, that's something, all right. Black and 3 for a 1/1 indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, you suspect it, which means it has menace and can't block. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card and you lose a life. Whenever the servitor deals damage, target opponent loses that much life. Oh, when it's dealt damage. Wow, this is a better squirrel. I'm just gonna put that out there right now. This thing is phenomenal. I mean, because you can let it hit you, so the opponent, you can let it hit you, so they draw a card and lose a life. You take one, or you can block it and take 2 or more because you can't kill it. This is going to be very popular in Commander, Sealed. Might see some Standard play, but that's probably about it just because it's 4 mana, but this is going to be a Commander card, I'm telling you. Next we have Archdruid's Charm. 3 green. Choose one. Search your library for a creature or land card. Reveal it. Put it on top. Put it onto the battlefield tapped if it's a land. Otherwise, put it in your hand and shuffle. Or put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power target creature you don't control. Or exile target artifact or enchantment. Wow, this is a disenchant on crack. This thing is amazing. This is easily going to be a $5 card. It's going to see tons of commander play. It's going to be great for limited. As far as standard goes, 3 green's a lot. We're going to have to wait and see what kind of decks we get, but this could be good. But honestly, other than that, I don't think it's to see anything else, but I think this is definitely going to be a Commander All-Star by the end of the day. Yeah. So, Prof's Etiquette Memory, blue and 1. When it enters the battlefield, you get to draw a card. It's a legendary enchantment. You have no maximum hand size. Okay, this is immediately a commander card. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, if you have drawn more than 1 card this turn, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the number of cards you have drawn this turn -1. It's fine, I guess. Maybe you'll see commander play. I don't know. Blue's not really known for making big, beefy creatures, but who knows? This might be something. Next, we have Blood Spatter Analysis. That's kind of cool. So, red and black enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, deals 3 damage to target creature and opponent controls. Whenever 1 or more creatures die, mill a card and put a Bloodstain counter on Blood Spatter Analysis. Then sacrifice it if it has 5 or more counters on it. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. I mean, this is fine. I mean, it's a lightning strike for a creature, plus it gets something back later. I think this is pretty good. This is going to see standard play probably. It'll probably see a little commander play. Definitely going to see some limited play. That's probably going to be about it. Just because there's not in the older formats, there's not a lot of big nappy creatures that are floating around that you want to use this on. Not a lot of creatures in general, honestly. But anyway. Next we have Kylox Voltage Strider, I guess. Blue, red, and 1 vehicle. I don't even know what the hell that's a picture of. Anyway, it's a 4/4. Collect Evidence 6. It becomes an artifact creature till the end of turn. Whenever the Strider attacks, you can cast instant or sorcery spell among the cards exiled with it. If that spell will be put into your graveyard, you put it on the bottom of its owner's library instead. Wow. Crew 2. So, if you collect evidence with this thing, you can punch him in the face for 4, cast something for free, put it back into your deck. Like, I don't know, Time Walk. Oh, God, that's disgusting. This is definitely going to be a commander card with tons of shenanigans going down. Other than that, it's going to be good for limited. Cruise 2, it's a 4/4. It's pretty big. It has the evidence thing. This could even see standard play. Like, this is pretty good. Crewing 2 is not hard. Plus the ability if you have a high enchantment / sorcery deck. Yeah, this is good, I think. This is going to make blue-red decks playable. Alright, moving on. Next we have Relive the Past. Green, white, 5 sorcery. Return up to 1 target artifact card, up to 1 target land card, up to 1 target non-aura enchantment card. From your graveyard to the battlefield, they are 5/5 elemental creatures in addition to other types. Yep, this is Screaming Commander. Calm down, guys. I hear you in the back. I mean, it could be good and limited if the game goes long. Probably a bit much for standard, but we've seen weirder. But definitely got to be a commander guy. Next, we have the Innocent Bystander, red and 1 for this 2/1. Whenever the Innocent Bystander is dealt 3 or more damage, you get to investigate. I mean, it's a fine limited card, 2/1 for 2, whatever. Next, we have Rakesh Scoundrel, two colorless, black and green for a 3/3 with Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield or is turned face up, target creature gains indestructible end of turn. Has Disguise of 6. Jesus. I mean, fine for limited, I guess. Next we have Pick Your Poison, 1 green sorcery. You can pick one. Each opponent sacrifices an artifact. Each opponent sacrifices an enchantment. Each opponent sacrifices a creature flying for 1 green. Wow, is this going to be good and limited. This might even see some sideboard action in other formats just because of how cheap it is, especially the older formats. We'll have to wait and see, but this could be a thing. Next we have Get a Leg Up. Anyway, sorry. 1 green instant. Until the end of turn, target creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control and gains reach. Okay. Probably going to be a good combat spell for limited. If there's a green deck at standard, this might be a thing. And if Mono Green Devotion is still a thing in those older formats, this, yes. Anyway. Next we have Aftermath, Analyst, green and 1 for a 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, you mill 3 cards. Green and 3, you sacrifice it. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's a fine card for limited to hold back fast attackers. Plus get stuff out of your graveyard, I guess, if it's in there. Going to be really cool in Commander just because of this ability. So, next we have Repeat Offender, black and 1 for 2/1. It's a human assassin. Black and 2. If Repeat Offender is suspected, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Otherwise, suspected. Okay. So if it's menacing, if it has menace and can't attack, you can start putting +1/+1 counters on it for 3. I mean, it seems fine for limited. It is what it is. Next we have Polygraph Orb, black and 4 for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put 2 of them in your hand, the rest in the graveyard. You lose 2 life. 2 and tap, collect evidence. 3, each opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card or sacrifice a creature. This is awful. I don't see this getting played at all. That's the first time I've said that. Anyway, Clandestine Meddler, black and 2 for a 3/2. Enters the battlefield, suspect up to another target creature you control. Not bad. Whenever one or more suspected creatures you control attack, surveil 1. Pretty cool. 3 mana 3/2, good for limited. Little special ability, menace, can't block, draw, whatever. Surveil. Agency Coroner, black and 4 for a 3/6. It's an Ogre Cleric for a black and 2. You can sacrifice another creature, draw a card. If the sacrificed creature was suspected, draw 2 cards instead. Pretty cool for limited. Just going to say. Next we have a Seasoned Consultant, because everybody needs one. White and 1 for a 1/3. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, it gets +2/+0, becomes a 3/3. I mean, it is a human. I just don't think it's good enough. Probably good enough for limited, but that's probably about it. Next we have Due Diligence, white and 2. Enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, target creature you control other than enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and gains vigilance at the end of turn. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has vigilance. Okay, that's a really good combat trick, I guess, or whatever. For limited, whatever. Next we have Corvad Haunch. 1 white, food equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. You're going to beat somebody with a piece of meat. Pretty sure it's a porn movie. Anyway, 2 colorless tap. You can sacrifice it, gain 3 life because it is a food. When you put it into the graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay a white and 1. If you do, create 2 1/1 white dog creature tokens. It equips for 2. I am so confused. You can beat them with your meat, giggity, or throw the meat away to gain life and find 2 dogs. I mean, whatever, I guess. Good for limited, obviously. Past that, whatever, put it in the Syrian, Renin Siri deck, I guess. Mistway Spy, 1 blue for a 1/1 flyer. Nothing like good old flying men. Has Disguise, so for a blue and 1, you can flip it up. When it's turn faced up till the end of turn, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player you investigate, that's just not good enough. I mean, it might be good enough for limited if you got some kind of enchantment or something weird to go with it. You know, lay it on turn 1, then enchant it and start beating face because it flies. But, eh. Next, we have a Case of the Burning Mask. Red, and 1. When the Case of the Burning Mask enters the battlefield, deals 3 damage to target creature and opponent controls. Alright, 3 mana, deal 3, not bad. To solve it, 3 more creatures you control dealt damage this turn. Okay. And if it's unsolved, you solve at the beginning of your end step. Solve, sacrifice this Case, exile top 3 cards of your library, choose one of them, you may play that card this turn. So I wonder if do these automatically solve at end step? I'll have to look into that later. Still seems pretty good. Next we have Pompous Show Off. Who'd have thought? Green and 2 for a 4/2. That's basically it. It has hexproof as long as it's your turn. What the hell happened with that? It cannot be blocked by creatures without names. Oh. So face down creatures can't block this. Got it. Next we have Greenbelt Radicals, green and 3, Centaur Citizen. It has a Disguise of 7. Jesus. When it's turned face up, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. All creatures you control gain Trample. I mean, it's kind of overrun, kind of not. 7 mana is a lot, but I mean, probably just a limited thing. You just run a Crater Hoof, for God's sakes. Anyway, Chalk Outline, green and 3 enchantment. Whenever 1 or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a blue and white 2/2 detective creature token, then investigate. This is really good for an uncommon. Holy cow. Great for limited, gonna be really good for commander, just spitting creatures out left and right. Might be good enough for standard, depending on what kind of green deck you're running. If you're doing a whole lot of shenanigans with the graveyard. 4 mana is probably too much for anything else, though. Next, we have Repulsive Mutation. That's why I used to be in high school. Anyway, blue, green, and X. Instant, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. Then counter up to 1 target spell unless its controller pays mana equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. That's something. That's definitely something. Not like pumping your team and countering a spell. The only drawback to this is this doesn't work if you don't have a creature. I mean, technically it's a counter spell for a green and a blue. Because if you have a big power creature out, they have to mana sync to that power. Or we can make it bigger so that they can't mana sync to it. This is going to be cool probably in Commander. I'm not even going to lie. Really good for Limited. This might see Standard play. Like, this might just be good enough counterspell for Standard. In a blue-green deck with some beat downs and some tempo. I think I might like this. I have to check this out. Next we have Essence of Antiquity. 2 white and 3 for a 1/10. Because that makes sense. Disguise, white and 2. Alright. When it's turn face up, creatures you control gain hexproof till end of turn, untap them. I mean, that's really cool. I mean, a 2/2 with ward, I guess, is about the same as a 1/10 without. I don't even know what to think about this. Great for limited, I guess. A block all day long. I mean, it's going to be okay for standard, but you'll never cast it for 5, probably. I mean, the whole thing about it is you're going to spend 6 to put it down and flip it face up. So I just don't think it's good enough for anything else. Maybe Commander. Case of the Locked Hot House. What is that a picture of? Sweet Jesus. Anyway, green and 3, you may play an additional land on each of your turns. All right. To solve, you control 7 or more lands. Solved, you may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may play lands and cast creature and enchantment spells from the top of your library. This is disgusting good for 4. Yeah, this is definitely a $5 card at least. Commander All-Star, Limited All-Star. Probably gonna see Standard play because this is nuts. play extra land every turn. You can play lands off top your deck. Like, holy cow. Um, I think this is a $20 card. That's just me. I mean, put in the comment section what you think. Anyway, we have the Fugitive Codebreaker. That is the most disturbing picture I think I've seen. Anyway, red and 1 for a 2/1 with prowess and haste. Already sounds sweet. Disguise for red and 5. So good God. The cost is reduced by 1 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. When it's turned face up, discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. Okay, that's fine. But to be honest, I'm probably just laying this for 2 and then blasting people in the face with it. I think it's going to be really good in standard if there's going to be a red deck. Probably pretty good for, I mean, probably pretty decent for commander. A limited all-star, I believe, just because the ability to flip it up and draw 3 cards will be huge even at 6. Yeah, I like this card. I like it a lot. I think it's going to be very popular. So, with all that said, guys, I want to say that we have a little bit of doppelgang going on. So, blue, green, and XXX. Ugh. So, for each of X target permanents, create X tokens that are copies of that permanent. So, for 5 mana, you can copy 1 thing. For 8 mana, you can copy 2. If it's 5 or 8 or 11, like, that's just too much mana unless you're doing some kind of weird shenanigans where you're going to go infinite. So, yeah, I just don't see anything going on with this. I had my hopes set so high. So high. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. Until next time, be kind. And as always, I hope to see you across from the game table. Man, what a way to end on a card. That thing's just god-awful. Ugh. It'll probably be a $20 card. I'm reading it wrong. That's just how I roll.